Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back to the Light to the Nations. In this cycle of study of Torah, we are in the book of Bereshit, Genesis, and we are going to study today the second portion, the portion of Noach, the story of Noah. And I really hope this is going to be a blessing to you all, a blessing also to us here at home. And it's always, a joy, a blessing to spend time together in Shabbat, especially studying the word of YaHuWaH. Just to keep in mind, I was taking a look in one passage in the book of Tehillim, chapter 133, that is saying the following: "See how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity." And no matter the distance, I think that should be the feeling, that should be the desire of our heart, is to dwell together in unity, being echad in YaHuWaH. And I do believe, every time that we are spending this time on Shabbat, studying the Torah, studying the scripture, the word of YaHuWaH, I do believe we feel that feeling in our hearts, that sense of unity, that the only one that is doing it is YaHuWaH himself through his Ruach. So I really hope that you have been enjoying your Shabbat, you are having a restful day, and that we are going to have a blessing from YaHuWaH in the study we are going to check today. The portion, the parsha today is from the chapter 6, verse 9, until the chapter 11, verse 32. It's a long portion, actually, with so much information that is quite difficult to cover all in just 1.5 or 2 hours time frame. So as we always do, we will let the Ruach to guide us on the topics that we are going to study. And I think that there are few things that are relevant for the days we are living, and it's important to keep that always in mind, to reinforce those things. And I do believe this is what we will do today. So thank you all for joining. I see all of you, most of you connected now. I see 27 of you connected. So thank you so much. Many blessings to all of you. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Thank you for joining us on these studies. And as I said a minute ago, I really hope that this is being a blessing to you all. And I always invite you to do this, in the same way that we are receiving, we need to give to others. So if you have a chance to share these studies, to share the light of the kingdom of YaHuWaH with others, you need to do it. You need to be a witness in this time. And most probably we will spoke about this in the life of Noach in the study today. And that's why, we need to remember that if we have the chance, every time we have the chance to share with others the light of YaHuWaH, we have to do it. And one way to do it is to invite others to join us in these studies. Other way is to share the studies with others. But most importantly, follow what the Ruach is leading you in your heart. He will give you the words. He will put you the words on your mouth and your hearts of what you need to share with others and how you need to share it. So we just need to be ready and willing to be obedient and to move ahead and to share with others what the YaHuWaH and his Ruach is leading us to do. So without further delay, let me share a song that I like too much. Even Cristobal, my son, I think 2 or 3 years ago, even he learned this song because I was listening to it so much that he learned to sing it even in Hebrew. I don't know if he remembers currently, but I remember he was singing time to time this song. So let's listen to that, and we will continue with the study. So here we go.
אתנה את פניי אל אדוני תפילה ותחנונים. ואתנה את פניי אל אדוני האלוהים, לבקש תפילה ותחנונים. הטה אלוהי אוזנך ושמע, פקח עיניך וראה. האר פניך, כי שמך נקרא עליך ועל עמך. האר פניך, כי שמך נקרא עליך ועל עמך. ואתפללה לאדוני אלוהי, ואתוודע אומרה על אדוני. הטה אלוהי אוזנך ושמע, פקח עיניך וראה. האר פניך, כי שמך נקרא עליך ועל עמך. האר פניך, כי שמך נקרא עליך ועל עמך. אדוני, שמע אדוני, סלח אדוני, הקשיבה ועשה. 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 האר פניך, כי שמך נקרא עליך ועל עמך. 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 ואתנה את פניי אל אדוני האלוהים.
That should be always our prayer to YaHuWaH. You know, this song is based, if I remember well, in the prayer of Daniel in his book in chapter 9. And you know, that prayer is so powerful and so beautiful. It should be in our heart in the way that we need to lift up our voices and crying out to YaHuWaH all the time. So I will invite you, since this is based on a prayer of an important servant of YaHuWaH, I will invite you to close your eyes And let's pray together to Abba. YaHuWaH Eloheinu, we want to give thanks to you in this new Shabbat because of everything you do for us. Thank you because you make us Kodesh, you make us special, set apart in you through your covenant, through your Torah, through the offering and the sacrifice of your Son Yahushua HaMashiach, because through him we are able to be part of your people Israel. Thank you, Abba, because you have put your Shabbat as a sign for us, a sign that demonstrates that we are your people. And with all our heart in this time, we want to tell you, Abba, that we love you. We want to serve you. And we want to demonstrate our love by keeping your commandments. Thank you, Abba, for giving us the opportunity to be once again in this gathering. Because the desire of our heart is to get closer to you, YaHuWaH. To get closer to you by studying your word, understanding that in your word is your instruction for life. That studying your word, we can know you. And by studying your word is the way that you are going to write your Torah in our hearts. Thank you, Abba, because you give us this opportunity, because you always open the door for us, because you prosper our ways. And we want to ask you, Abba, in this moment that in the same way that you have done it in the past, that you can guide this gathering, that you can give us of your Ruach, that give us of your wisdom, that we can understand your word, that is going to be you speaking to us today. That you can guide us in every word, in every thought, in every wisdom, and in every righteousness. We are your people, and we want from the bottom of our heart to serve you by following the step of Yahushua HaMashiach. And in this moment we invite you, we open the doors of our heart for your presence to be among us, no matter the distance, no matter where we are in the world, that you can be with us, because without your presence, we're nothing. With your presence, we find plenty of life. Thank you, Abba, for your love, for your compassion, for our family are out there, that you can give us and you ignite that fire in our heart to be Echad in you. I pray for all your people in this time, that you can guide us in these last days, that we can get closer to you every day, that we can put in practice your Torah, your instruction, in every moment and in every experience of our life. Because you know better than us that through those experiences, you are giving us the opportunity to put in practice your righteousness in this world. And through that, we become light to the nations, light to the world. We're able to bring your light and shine your light in the middle of the darkness. Thank you, Abba, for hearing our voices. We pray to you with our heart. And we lift up this prayer to you as an offering, as an ascending offering to you, Abba. And we do it in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay, so let's review the summary, the portion in 60 seconds. Let's see what this portion is bringing to us. So here we go.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 seconds. Today's portion is from Genesis 6, 9, 11, 32. It is called Noah. Noah was a righteous man and walked with God. He had 3 sons. God saw the world had gone bad. God tells Noah to build an ark because God would cause a flood. During the building process, all the people trolled him. When the flood came, Noah, his family, and all the animals were in the ark, and God shut them in. The rain fell 40 days and 40 nights. The waters destroyed all life, and 150 days later, the waters receded. God made a covenant that never again a flood destroy the earth, and set a rainbow in the clouds as a sign. Noah planted a vineyard, got wasted, and was naked within his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father father's nakedness and told his two brothers. Shem and Japheth placed clothes on their father without seeing their father's nakedness. When Noah woke up, he cursed Ham's son Canaan to become the lowest of slaves to Japheth and Shem. Noah lived to the age of 950 and then died. Several generations later, the earth was populated by many nations. Everyone on earth spoke the same language, and they all decided to make a huge tower. God confounded their speech so that they could not understand each other, and scattered them over the face of the earth. Thus the city was called Babel. 9 generations after Shem, Abram married Sarai. Sarai was barren. Abram's father relocated them to Haran and died. And that is Noah in 60 seconds.
So Noach in 60 seconds, you know, as I told you already, and you know, there's so much information that is so critical for us to understand. Because, you know, it's the foundation. That's why it's Bereshit is in the beginning. This book is the foundation for everything that is written in the word of YaHuWaH. Without understanding everything that is written in this book, it makes much more difficult for us to understand the rest of the books of the word of YaHuWaH. It's much difficult for us to understand, you know, the Torah of YaHuWaH, and even it makes more difficult to understand the plan of salvation and restoration of all things. So we won't tackle everything, because as we are not going to have all the time. We need to be the entire day, the entire Shabbat studying this. And though I would like to do it, I cannot do it. Most probably you cannot do it either. But I will invite you to read the portion and to study by yourself at your home. It's important that we read this portion, that we read this all these portions in this cycle, especially in the book of Bereshit, Genesis, and with the idea to reinforce certain understandings. There are the multiple things here about the giants, about Nimrod, the tower of Babylon, of Babel, and also the genealogies are so important. So if we don't manage to cover all, again, the invitation, study this by yourself. It's important that we reinforce year after year this cycle and this portion. So let me share the screen with you. Let's go to the chapter 6 of Bereshit. Genesis. Bereshit is the name in Hebrew. And I think there are a few things that I'm been feeling in my heart to share. You know, as you know, we started sharing in Spanish last week. You know, for the session today, due to that we have other things to do in our agenda for the Shabbat, we needed to pre-record the session yesterday, and there are multiple things that came up in the session that I want to share with you, and I think those are the importance that I'm feeling in my heart that is important to reinforce and to check. So let's read together. I think we are going to finish the chapter 6. There's no so much verses, so let me read it, and we are going to tackle a few of them. So it says in the verse 9, this is the genealogy of Noach. Noach was a righteous man, perfect in his generation. Noach walked with Elohim. And Noach brought forth 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And Elohim said to Noach, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And see, I am going to destroy them from the earth. Make yourself an ark of wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with a covering. And this is how you are to make it. The length of the ark is 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a window for the ark, and complete it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. And see, myself am bringing flood waters on the earth, to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life from under the heavens. All that is on the earth is to die. And I shall establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of all the living of all flesh, 2 of each you are to bring into the ark, to keep them alive with you, a male and a female. Of the birds after their kind, and of the cattle after their kind, and of the creeping creatures of the ground after their kind, 2 of each are to come to you, to keep them alive. As for you, take of all food that is eaten and gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. And Noach did according to all that Elohim commanded him, so he did. So, you know, it's so good that he found a person. He found a person that beside all corruption that was on the earth, it is written like that, a person that was special. And even though that he decided to destroy everything because of the violence, because of the corruption that was on the earth, he decided to continue life, continue his creation because of the faithfulness of one person. And I think, this is becoming relevant for the days we are living, because even YaHuWaH himself was speaking about that in that great prophecy he shared with all of us, with the disciples on that day, and they put it in written form for all of us throughout the ages. And let me go there because I think it's important to remember these words in the book of Matthew, chapter 24. Because it's exactly what we always asked in our minds, in our heart. And the disciples asking the Mashiach when is going to happen everything, and he started to tell them about this great prophecy of the last days. And without reading all, because this is a topic by itself, and I was covering this on the study of the last days. Most probably most of you already reviewed. If not, please do, because there's so much information and the great details that I went through those study series that we are covering part of the chapter 24. But in one moment, and let me see what it is. I think it's in the verse 30 something. He said the following in the verse 36 and 37. But concerning that day and the hour, not one knows, not even the messengers of the heavens, my Father only. And as the day of Noach, so also shall the coming of the sons of Adam be. And this is critical because he's given us, YaHuWaH is giving us a sign. He's given us a trigger point, a key, for us to understand the days and the season of his coming. It's true to say that the hour and the day we don't know, but also his word is so true by saying that in the words of Shaul, that we know the seasons. We know the keys, we know the prophecies. And we are children of light, not children of darkness. So the day of his coming is not gonna caught us by surprise. We are not gonna know exactly the hour, the year, maybe the specific day, but we know somehow because of the feast, because of the plan, because of the prophecies. And in this case, he's also giving us an additional key, saying that his second coming, is going to be like in the days of Noach. So the portion that we are studying today, and the points that I want to highlight somehow, is exactly for us to understand and to correlate to this message from YaHuWaH, to this key that YaHuWaH gave us. And what's the idea? Because in Noach we find an example. Because if YaHuWaH said that his second coming is going to be like the days of Noach, and we also just read that Noach found favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH, and YaHuWaH decided to preserve life through Noach and his family, we can find favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH as well in these last days, in order for him to preserve life, and it's not going to be as the life we know now, is going to be eternal life, because that's the promise of Yahushua HaMashiach, to preserve through us, if we also find favor in his eyes. So if we read, the verse 38 and 39, he's given us an additional insight. YaHuWaH is giving us an additional insight of how those days look like, the days of Noach. It's not everything, because we will read a little bit more about that, but it's part of what was going on in the days of Noach. And it says in the verse 38 and 39, for as they were in the days before the flood, eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noach entered into the ark. And they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. So what was the situation back then? And we want to put it in our words. It's basically society, humankind. In that day, their focus was on the day-to-day. Their focus was on the ways of the world. Their focus was on the feasting, drinking, and the social life, if we can say so. But their focus was not on the ways of YaHuWaH. We just read that there was pure evil. Everything was corrupt. And society back then, humankind back then, didn't realize, that they didn't want to realize, that their ways were not the ways of YaHuWaH. That everything that they were doing was totally against the ways of YaHuWaH. Therefore, against YaHuWaH himself. And, if we do a comparison with the idea, with the objective of understanding and see this key and understanding the times we are living, we see something very similar to today happening. We see that the focus of the world today, more than never before, more than the previous generations, is totally opposite to the ways of YaHuWaH. Even, in religion, in Christianity, we see divisions, people going totally aside and astray from the true path of YaHuWaH. I was checking few videos the other day of so-called churches that they are allowing things totally abominations in the eyes of YaHuWaH to happen inside their temples, inside their buildings, with things that are abominable to the eyes of YaHuWaH, that they are allowing it. So, we are in a level of society that is so corrupt and so decay, that I do believe that, as I said, we have not seen it in the past. If we ask our parents, our grandparents, most probably they will do, and they will say the same. And, we have been discussing here as well is that it's so important to see it and observed. I have been telling you here in previous studies as well that we should not get engaged on these things because we are being called to be different. We are not citizens of this system of the world. As YaHuWaH said, we are in the world, but we are not of it. We are from above. We are from the kingdom of YaHuWaH. So we are called to observe, to watch all the time, but not to get engaged on these kind of things. So through observance, we can see and we can determine where the days we are living together with the keys that we are getting from YaHuWaH, from the prophets, directly from the word of YaHuWaH. And what we have been discussing here at home is that that basically, in every generations, believers have said we are living in the last days. Every generation has said, because there is an important event happening in the world that is totally related to the prophecies. They have believed that they were living in the last days, that that was the moment. And without, not recognizing and not acknowledging that that happened, because it was a reality, every generation believing there was the last days. I think what one thing in particular is happening in our days. And is that, in different angles, in different fronts, prophecies are being fulfilled like never before. The scenario that we see today happening is different from the past, because we see corruption, we see people going astray, we see violence. If we talk about the days of Noach, the violence we see in the world today is like never before. And in all aspects of society, we see the apostasy going on. We see how corruption, up to a certain level, that we will talk a little bit about that, brought by the science, is different from the past and is currently happening. And we see how technology is moving on, and how, everything through technology is possible to do, and how society and the system of the world is moving on. So those kind of things didn't happen in the past. And that's why I think when YaHuWaH was speaking that his second coming and his coming was going to be as in the days of Noach, he was so true. And we can understand that in the days that we're living, that is being fulfilled, is becoming a reality. So let's go again to the book of Genesis chapter 6. Because, YaHuWaH was seeing this, that all flesh was corrupted their way. The air was filled with violence. And I can imagine that in the heart of YaHuWaH was not an easy decision, and he was grieved because of what was going on. And we know that everything somehow is connected to what happened with in the previous verses of this chapter, with what happened with the watchers and the fallen angels and what they did. And we know that we found plenty of information and more details in the book of Hanoch, in the book of Enoch. But can you imagine that? And actually, we can have exactly the same experience when we do something with our hands. When we're painting something or we're building something, and because of anything, you have to destroy it, or it's getting destroyed, or it's getting wrong or bad. I do believe that we feel in our heart something not good because it took an effort to do it. And not only the effort is that when we do something with love and our heart is on those things, when we see this happening and it's going in the wrong direction, and the only solution you have is to destroy it, it's gonna break your heart. It's gonna break your heart. And I just while speaking, I remembered what happened to YaHuWaH with Israel. YaHuWaH wanted to restore Israel, and but just Israel, sometimes they wanted to do it, other times there were the disobedience and so on. I do believe that was breaking YaHuWaH's heart. Can you imagine? He created man, he created everything, and he saw everything that was corrupted, and it was only violence, when the only thing that he wanted to do is to have shalom, is to have harmony, is to have, abundance, is to see how his creation that he loved so much was growing and growing, because that was the purpose that why he did everything, and especially man, that he made man after his own image. So I do believe it wasn't an easy decision for YaHuWaH, but at the same time, while his heart was broken because of what was going on, I also can imagine that at the moment he saw Noach, and a smile was in his heart and in his face, because he saw hope, and he also believed that through that hope of one and the righteousness of one man, no matter the destruction was coming to the world, he was going to restore everything. And one of the points that I wanted to mention, and let me say something before, because and we know, all of us, that we were following what YaHuWaH brought through Rob Skiva. It's an amazing truth, and about what corruption means. And I think that's the most critical item for us to understand that we are really living in the days of Noach, because it says that the air completely was corrupt before Elohim. Every flesh was corrupt. So what it means, and actually in the book of Yaser, I have it here in front of me. I have the copy of the Hallelujah scripture. I want to share something with you, because in this complementary book, in the book of Yoelim, the book of Hanoch, in the book of Yaser or Yashar, we found additional information that it's critical for us to understand in more details what the days of Noach means. And let me read this in the chapter 4. That I don't have it in the screen, but let me read it for you. It's in the chapter 4. I'm going to start in the verse 14. Okay, and it says the following: And Methuselah, this is Methuselah, called his name Noach, saying, in his days the earth was at rest and free from corruption. Lamech, his father, called his name Menahem, saying, this one shall comfort us in our works and miserable toil in the earth, which Elohim had cursed. So, Noach is somehow a picture of Mashiach as well, because he's the one bringing peace and bringing restoration, in the same way that Mashiach is bringing restoration. And the child grew up and was weaned, and he went in the ways of his father Methuselah, perfect and upright with Elohim. And let me make a comment, because we have mentioned this in the past as well. Our responsibility is also to instruct the coming generations. And we see a perfect example here. Methuselah, the son of Hanoch, the son of Enoch, instructing Noach in the ways of YaHuWaH. And if we don't do our part, the coming generations, it's going to be much easier for the coming generations to depart from the true way. So we need to do something about it, and we need to try to engage those coming generations in the same way that we see here happening. Can you imagine that maybe Noach wasn't close to Methuselah? Maybe he was going to deviate his way as well, and there was complete doom for the entire creation. So that's why it's important that we do our part. So let me continue in the verse 16, and it says, "And all the sons of men departed from the ways of YaHuWaH in those days, as they multiplied upon the face of the earth with sons and daughters. And they taught one another their evil practices, and they continued sinning against YaHuWaH. And every man made for himself a mighty one, and they robbed and plundered every man." So violence happening isn't the same thing that we see happening in our days. Here in my country, we see violence happening every day in a way that we have seen it before in previous years. I know that in many of your countries, it's happening exactly the same. And this is I don't know, what's the source of all of this? And we have been discussed about this, and it is written, even in the book of YaHuWaH, we see more of this happening. Is the work of the evil spirit, that the only thing that they want to do is to bring destruction. And this is exactly what they started to do here. And if we read the book of YaHuWaH also, we see it more clearly. So, robbing and plundering every man, his neighbor, as well as his relative. And they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husbands, according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the birds of the air, and taught, listen to this, the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order, and this is so sad, what is written next. It says, in order to provoke YaHuWaH by it. And Elohim saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways on earth, all men and all animals. So, what is it about? It's not only, as YaHuWaH said, that in those days society was focusing in social life and so on. And that's the Ruach that puts some thought sometimes. Isn't it interesting, that what is so used to the people now to use in our days is called social networks. Social networks is something that, is in the mind and is in the life of everybody. Isn't it something similar to what YaHuWaH was speaking about the people of that time, focusing on their social life? You see the correlation. It's exactly what's happening today. It's an expansion that happened since 15 years ago, approximately. But now people cannot live without it. It's exactly as YaHuWaH was speaking, as we see happening in those days. Violence all over the place, but also the mixture of species. And in our modern language, What is it about? This is a genetic manipulation. It's simple like that. It's playing with genetics. And we know for us that we have been studying the Torah, we have been studying the word of YaHuWaH. We know that there is a prohibition. It's forbidden by YaHuWaH to do mixture of species. He sees that as an abomination. And through technology today, we see that exactly happening. Science trying to manipulate the DNA. Science through their own experiments, mixing the seed and creating things that wasn't created by YaHuWaH. And you know that the specific phrase that I was reading in the book of Yasher, why they did it back then? They did it in order to provoke YaHuWaH Elohim. They did it in order to corrupt what YaHuWaH created. They did it to create their own image. They did it in order to create things under their own thoughts, under their own image. You know, there are so many things happening today. There are so many discussions and presentations about the Human 2.0, Industrial Revolution 4.0. You know, people saying that we are going to become as gods under our own image through technologies. Isn't it that corrupting the image of Elohim, corrupting his creation, playing with genetics? Isn't it the same that was happening as we just read back on that days? I do believe so. So, as I said before, we see all the components being merged together or coming together from different angles in these times that we are living, in order for us to understand, if we have our eyes open and our ears open in order to hear, in order to see what the Ruach is speaking to us through his word, we will see and we will understand that these are the days that Yahushua was speaking about. Now, what we can do about it? Did Noach did something in order to avoid the situation happening in the world? Not at all. He got engaged in the way of the worlds back then? Not at all. And because of that, he found favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH. So I think that the second component of what Yahushua was speaking, he gave us the example of Noach. Not only to understand the days that they were living in order for us to understand the last days, but also to see in Noach the example of what we need to do in our days. So Noach was able to be saved and through them to preserve life. So how we can be saved? And for sure, you know, the immediate answer is that we are being saved by Yahushua HaMashiach. And that's true. But saying it like this, we miss the richness of what it means to be saved by Yahushua HaMashiach and what it is expected from us all in order to be part of the ark. So let's go back again and let's see, because there are few conditions, and more than conditions, I think those are characteristics that we can see in Noach that are the keys for us to be like him in order to find grace and favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH. And this is written in just one specific verse, and it's in the verse 9 of the book of Genesis, Bereshit. It says, this is the genealogy, and let me read from the 8, because it says, but Noach found favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH. And this is the genealogy of Noach. And listen to this, because those are the key for us to understand what is required from us in order to be saved, in the same way that he was saved with his family. And you know, one important thing before continuing is that we see here, and I don't know if it's going to be the same. I think it's not going to be the same this time, like in the case of Noach, and I'm going to expand this in a minute for you to understand what I'm trying to say. What I'm talking about is through the faithfulness of one man, 7 more was saved. And not only 7 more, also a huge amount of animals that also were part of the ark. And you know, the interesting part is that it says that the entire earth and the entire, all flesh was corrupted. And corruption, you know, can be physically, but also spiritually. And that's also an important point to maybe to expand a little bit. But, you know, in the same way, and that's the interesting part, in the same way that YaHuWaH saw Noach, and Noach found grace, favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH, most probably YaHuWaH also reserved a number and an amount of animals that were not corrupted in order to preserve his creation. You know, he is so lovely and his kindness is so great and high that he is reserving a remnant always, a remnant of people, humankind, but also a remnant of the entire creation. And I'm wondering, and I don't have the answer for that, what's going to happen in these days, because his wrath is coming again. If he's going to preserve also part of his creation. We know that the earth is crying out, it says, for the manifestation of the children of Elohim. And we see this happening in climate. We see in the entire creation, including animals that are dying in these days. The entire creation is crying out for the manifestation of the children of Elohim. Who are going to be the children of Elohim? The children of Elohim is going to be people like Noach. The entire earth were crying out on that ages for the manifestation of a children of Elohim, and that was Noach. And through that man, everything was saved, and was saved his entire family through the faith of one. And that's the key of what we were discussing last week about the core of what YaHuWaH created is family. He didn't create it, as I said last week, governments. He didn't create organizations. He didn't create churches. He didn't create any kind of a human social unit. The only thing that he created from the very beginning is family. And he put an order in that family. And because of that creation, for that definition that YaHuWaH created, in this case, because of the faithfulness of the head, the entire family was saved. As I said before, I'm not so sure that this is going to be the same in our days. And I will give you a passage in the scripture later on just to reinforce my thought on this. And that's why it's important for us to understand these characteristics from Noach. Because most probably you have heard this always, that salvation is a personal thing. And I do believe in this statement, because at the end, this is a way that we have to walk individually. Nobody else can walk for us. Nobody else. It's something that we need to decide to walk in a specific way that is connected one point to the other. You know, there are multiple ways, but it's only one that is connected, this point where we are, to the point that we want to be. That is the kingdom of YaHuWaH. But nobody else can walk for us and to go through that route. It's up to us to continue straight forward on the way, to continue without deviating ourselves to the right or to the left. Not to get stuck on the way, not to go backward, is to go forward in order to get into our destiny. And that's why I think it's a personal matter. And that's why I think different from what happened in the past, that through Noach all the rest were saved. Most probably this time it will depend on you and me individually. That doesn't mean that we can be guides, that we can help others, that we can encourage one another to continue on the way. If we see someone falling down, that we can help them in order to stand up. If we see someone going astray, to take their hands and to get him back in order to continue walking astray. For sure we can do and we must do all of that. But at the end, it will depend on what is in the heart of all of us. And what's the decision we will make internally here, within ourselves, if we will continue on the way. So, understanding this truth that it depends on us, in our decision, it depends on what is in our heart, if we'll get into the destiny, and if we are going to get the ticket in order to be in the ark. We need to understand the characteristics of Noach. So it says the verse 9, Noach was a righteous man. That's the first one. Second, he was perfect in his generation. And the third, Noach walked with Elohim. Those are the three aspects that differentiate Noach from the rest of the people on his generation. He was a righteous person. He was Sadiq in Hebrew. He was perfect. And he walked with Elohim. And if I can add an additional one, that is basically at the end of this passage, and Noach did according to all that Elohim commanded him. So he did. So the fourth one, he was obedient to the voice of YaHuWaH. So righteousness, perfection, walking with Elohim, what it means to walk in the way of YaHuWaH and being obedient to YaHuWaH. When we talk about corruption, as said, that there are two types of corruption of the mind, and actually I don't like to mention it of the mind, because actually the heart is more important in the word. It's basically corruption of the heart, and corruption, physical corruption, as we discussed about the mixture and genetic manipulation. But it's interesting that, YaHuWaH was speaking that out of the heart we do things, evil thoughts, evil thinkings, and evil reasonings are coming from the heart. So if our heart is corrupted, it means that we are not going to go in the way of YaHuWaH. If our heart is changed into righteousness, immediately our outer us, our physical way, our outside is going to align to the righteousness. And everything, what matters is in the heart. If we are going to obey YaHuWaH, we are going to change our heart. We are going to let the Torah of YaHuWaH to be written in our heart. And we are going to somehow become as Noach. So, being righteous, and we can expand this for many hours as well. But one thing that I think I feel that I need to reinforce, YaHuWaH himself was speaking about this, about righteousness when he said that the top priority in our lives is to seek the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness, because everything else will come by granted by the hand of YaHuWaH. So the top priority in your life is the righteousness of the kingdom. So we need to understand what righteousness is in order to become righteous as Noach. Without understanding righteousness, how we can become righteous? And it is true that we become righteous, or we are justified by the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach in the stake. It's true, but it doesn't mean that once saved, always saved. And we all know that after so many years studying the Word. So he's washing us with his blood in order to give us the opportunity and start all over again. But it's up to you and up to me to keep in righteousness and understand. In order to keep ourselves in that way of righteousness, we need to understand what righteousness is. There are a few passages here, and let me see from my note what it says. And somehow reinforcing the idea of Noach. Let's go to the chapter 37 of Tehillim. This is Psalms, verse 29. It says, "The righteous shall inherit the earth and dwell in it forever." And this is something that would like to expand a bit, but maybe it's not the time. Our dwelling is going to be the earth. It is written here. We are going to dwell in the earth, and we are going to inherit the earth, and we are going to dwell in it forever. In the same way that Noah was saved from destruction, but then he was the one from the one that the earth was replenished again. But that's the promise for the righteous. So Noah was a righteous one and he was saved. We need to become righteous. You know, and to give you the bottom line of what righteousness is, I don't like to do it like this, but for the sake of time, and I will try to do a specific study about righteousness in order to get all the arguments and the evidences and the witnesses from the scripture for what I'm going to say now. But what righteousness is to keep the commandments of YaHuWaH. His word is righteousness. His Torah is righteousness. If we keep his Torah, if we follow the step of Yahushua HaMashiach, who gave us and who gives us the true meaning of Torah, we are going to be walking in righteousness. And if we walk in righteousness all the time, we are going to become Sadiq. We are going to become righteous in the same way of Noach. So how to be saved is to be righteous. You remember when Yahushua was speaking to his disciples. I think it's in the chapter 23 of Matthew. And he was saying to them that their righteousness, the righteousness of the disciples, needed to be greater than the righteousness of the Pharisees. And that what it means, you know. The first thing, and it's going to be part of the study that I have, you know, in my books for a long time, and I think is the time to share it. The first thing that we can see in this statement from Yahushua, that righteousness can be measured, can be compared. Yahushua is saying, you know, in the basic of his statement, he's saying your righteousness needs to be bigger, greater than their righteousness. So in order to understand if my righteousness is greater and bigger from the righteousness of the Pharisees, is something that I can see, something that I should be able to measure, something that I need to be able to measure in order to compare if I'm low or high. So something that we can put into practice. And that's why, the word of YaHuWaH we need to put into practice in our day-to-day life in order to become tzaddik, in order to become righteous. So the second aspect of Noach, let me go back to chapter 6. And let me remind you what we're trying to see is Noach was saved. So he was a special person. And we are trying to understand his characteristics in order to follow his example, in order for us to do the same, in order to have the same characteristics, so we will find favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH in these times of Noach, before the coming of Yahushua, and in order to be part of the ark and be saved. So the second one, it says in the verse 9, he was perfect in his generation. So what it means to be perfect? And I think there are two passages that I want to share with you here. And the first one is a story of Yahushua. And this is, I think, in the chapter 19 of the book of Matthew. Is the chapter 21. Yes. In the chapter 19, verse 20 of the book of Matthew, there is a story of the young man that is coming through Yahushua. He is speaking, he's asking for many things. So let's read it together, because this is one of the key for us to understand what it means to be perfect. It's one of two, okay? So let's start with the first. It says, the young man, in the verse 20, said to him, and actually let's read before. Here in the verse 16, and see, one came and said to him, good teacher, what good should I do to have everlasting life? That's a pretty good question, in order to have what you're promising, what I need to do. And that's so important, because sometimes we see scriptures and the word of YaHuWaH is something that is not tangible. It's something that is only theory, something that is invisible, something that is only inside. And it's true that it's inside, but it's not only inside, it's outside. What I have to do is not only to think, it's not only to believe, it's also to do. And that's why this question from this person is so relevant to the Master, to the Mashiach. What shall I do in order to inherit, in order to have everlasting life? And the Master answered this, and he said to him, why do you call me good? No one is good except one, Elohim. And it's so relevant. None of us are good. And even himself consider himself good. Solely Elohim, YaHuWaH. But if you wish to enter into life, what's the secret? Guard the commandments through Torah. And we know that Yahushua HaMashiach is the Torah made flesh. He is the word of YaHuWaH. If we follow him, he will give us the right interpretation of Torah and how we keep the covenant of YaHuWaH. And if we keep it and we guard the commands, we are going to find and we are going to enter into life. Not my words, his words. It is written over there. Let's continue. He said to him, which? And Yahushua said, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, respect your father and your mother, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. He, Yahushua, was directing this young man to the 10 words. He was directing him to the covenant. Why he didn't mention the first few commandments? It's my belief because he was a Jewish person. He was already keeping Shabbat. He was already out of the idolatry. And it's my belief that Yahushua was reinforcing the areas of his life was more related to loving the neighbor. Let's keep in mind that the Jewish communities, back then, especially the Pharisees, They were putting all this tradition on the shoulders of the people. Traditions that even Yahushua himself was saying that were departing from the commandment of YaHuWaH and were making people astray from the commandment of YaHuWaH. So, and there was, a kind of wall, a barrier from Jewish people with Gentiles, the nations. That somehow, even if a Gentile was a neighbor because they were kidding of somebody else, a Jew, they were not respecting that. So that's why it's my belief, it's not written, it's my belief that that's why Yahushua was reinforcing those commandments to him. But, in the whole context, Yahushua was directing him to the 10 Commandments, to the pact, to the covenant of YaHuWaH. So it says in the verse 20, the young man said to him, all this I have watched over from my youth. What do I still lack? So he was looking for perfection. And this is exactly what Yahushua was answering him. Yahushua said to him, if you wish to be perfect, and that's the answer from Yahushua, is the first answer we have in order to how to be perfect. If you wish to be perfect, go, sell what you have and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven, and come, follow me. And when the young man heard the word, he went away sad, because he had many possessions. So, what Yahushua is trying to tell us, what matters is really to go and sell everything that we have. It is exactly what Yahushua was trying to teach this young man. I don't think so. Because at the end, we owe nothing and we are happy. Yes, too. That's so funny. Sorry to mention, but every time that I remember, it's so funny that they're trying to do something and they're trying to become Elohim by saying these kind of things. They are doing all of this in order to provoke YaHuWaH without respecting and acknowledging that he is the owner of everything, because we currently own nothing, because everything is owned by YaHuWaH. He owns everything. And we can become happy by owning nothing. And this is exactly what Yahushua was trying to teach this young man. It's not that we have to get rid of everything, unless he is guiding us to do so. What he wants us to do is to deny ourselves. What he wants us to do is that we give our hearts to him. What he wants us to do, that the most important thing in our life is him. That we can understand that nothing is ours. Everything is his. And when we understand this and really understand this in our heart, any anxiety is going away, because it's he the one taking care of us. Yahushua knew that he was not able to do it, and he was trying to guide him on how to get into perfection. So what is perfection? In the words of Yahushua, how we become perfect is by denying ourselves. Is exactly that was the message from Yahushua HaMashiach. If we get to the point that we start denying ourselves, and this is a process, it's not one-time moment. It's a lifetime process. Every day, every year, every experience, we will have the opportunity to deny ourselves. It's not about me, is about Him. And if we denied ourselves, understanding that we belong to Him and everything belongs to Him, we are on the way to perfection. So how to become perfect? By denying ourselves day by day, giving the place to YaHuWaH that He deserved in our hearts. But there is a second part of how to become perfect. Let me see, I have my notes here. Perfect is one of the favorite passages and chapter of the scripture. You know which it is? There are beautiful passages and chapters in the scripture, but there's one specifically that is very beautiful because it's bringing, a consolidation, a concentration of so much truth, and it's so beautifully written that I think is one of the most beautiful one. If you know what I'm talking about before going, please write it down in the chat. Let's see if you are thinking alike with me. Let's see, I'm just waiting for the chat. Let's see if you know what I'm talking about. What chapter of the scripture is one of the most beautiful one? It's a chapter, it's an entire chapter. No? No comments? No comments. So let's go. It's the chapter 119 of the book of Tehillim. 119 of the book of Tehillim. And just the verse 1. It says the following: Baruch, blessed are the perfect in the way. So we see in the case of Noach, he was Baruch, he was blessed. He was perfect in the way. Because he was perfect in the way. Who is perfect in the way? Who walked in the Torah of YaHuWaH. So, that's the beautiful thing of Yahushua in the way he gave us the understanding of the word of YaHuWaH and the way of YaHuWaH. Is that, we can keep and we can walk in the Torah. But we need to walk in the Torah in a specific way. We need to walk in the Torah by denying ourselves. So we are going to be perfect in the way by walking in the Torah of YaHuWaH. If we walk in the Torah, and what it means is exactly what this young man was asking Yahushua, what I have to do is not only to learn Torah, is to do Torah, is to put into practice the Torah of YaHuWaH. But denying ourselves in the process. So to let Yahushua HaMashiach to live his life through us. That's how we are going to become perfect. So perfection, what we can understand that Noah was doing, he was denying himself. And he was walking in the Torah of YaHuWaH. That's why he was perfect. So he was righteous. He was keeping righteousness. And everything is connected. Righteousness is keeping the Torah of YaHuWaH. How we are going to become perfect? By walking in the Torah of YaHuWaH. And we walk in the Torah, we are going to become righteous. And if we do it denying ourselves, we are going to be perfect as well. So that's the second characteristic. And the third one, you remember what it was? The third one is walked with Elohim. Who else walked with Elohim? Noach. And what it means to walk with Elohim. And that's really beautiful as well. Who is the way, the truth, and the life? It's Yahushua HaMashiach. What is the way of righteousness and the way of Kodeshah? Is the way of YaHuWaH. We have two ways. And we are always in that situation, day by day, that we need to decide which way we will continue walking in the broad and easy to walk way, or in the narrow path that sometimes is not easy, not because the path is difficult, but because everything around us, around that path, made it difficult. So that's the decision. Noach was walking in that way. YaHuWaH is leading us on that way. He's showing us the way because He's the way. And if you see, if we want to summarize everything is connected to be obedient. Everything is connected to the righteousness. Everything is connected to the word of YaHuWaH and His eternal instruction. If we keep living our lives, being in this world, but not being part of the world, because we're keeping the way of righteousness and the righteousness of the kingdom of YaHuWaH, we are going to be like Noach. And we are going to be able to get that ticket in order to be in the ark. Let me show you something that I mentioned before. Why I believe that this time it's going to be only up to us. If we get these characteristics, if we do it in the right way, but we're not going to save others. We need to save ourselves and help others to get into the ark. In the same way that Noach was helping his family to get into the ark. In the same way that he was leading the different animals to get into the ark. So, but in the book of Ezekiel, this is Yehezkel in Hebrew, chapter 14, we're going to read from verse 12 until verse 20. It says the following. And the word of YaHuWaH came again to me, saying, Son of man, when a land sins against me to commit a trespass, and I shall stretch out my hand against it. It's a similar situation as we see in the story of Noach. And cut off its supply of bread and send scarcity of food on it, and cut off man and beast from it. Even though these three men, Noach, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they would deliver only themselves by their righteousness, declares the Master YaHuWaH. So, it's talking about destruction because of the evil of a city. But even a person like Noach or Daniel or Job are in the city, they are going to save themselves alone because of their righteousness. Let's continue reading because it's repeating exactly the same 3 times. If I cause an evil beast to pass through the land, and it shall be rivet, and it shall be a wasteland, so that no man pass through because of the beasts, even though these 3 men were in it, as I live, declares the Master YaHuWaH, they would deliver neither sons nor daughters. They alone would be delivered, but the land be a wasteland. Did you listen? They would deliver neither sons nor daughters. They alone would be delivered, but the land be a wasteland. It's going to be different than the case of the ark. That's why we need to do as much as we can in order to share with others the righteousness and true way, in order for them to become to the knowledge of the truth, for them to be saved in the same way that we can be saved. Or if I bring a sword, the 17, on that land, and I shall say, sword, go through the land, and I shall cut off man and beast from it, even though these 3 men were in its midst, and as I live, declares the Master YaHuWaH, they would deliver neither sons nor daughter, for they alone would be delivered. Or if I send a pestilence into that land, and I shall pour out my wrath on it in blood, to cut off from it man and beast, even though Noach, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, declares the Master YaHuWaH, they would deliver neither son nor daughter. They would deliver their own lives by their righteousness. So this is critical and should reinforce two things for us. First, the coming destruction and the coming wrath of YaHuWaH. The only way that we are going to be able to survive it and to be saved is by being like Noach, Daniel, Job. But all the characteristics we just studied. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that we need to have compassion in the same way that YaHuWaH and YaHuShua has compassion. And we need to bring the truth. We need to sound the trumpet. We need to lead other people on the way of YaHuWaH. That's why He has called us to His ways. That's why, and that's the purpose of Israel, to be a light in this world. If we are being called to be priests and kings, Kohanim, Bemelechim in Hebrew, what's the responsibility of a priest and a king? Is to lead, is to teach, is to instruct, is to guide. That's your and mine responsibility, considering that everybody is going to be saved by themselves if they follow the way. But we need to help them in the same way that YaHuShua came and He was meeting with sinners. And the religious people of that time, they didn't understand why. And why YaHuShua did it. Because a healthy person is in not need of a physician, He said. A sick person is in need. And He is the one healing us. And we need to follow His steps with that compassion and love to help others to become to the knowledge of the truth. So, there are so many things important also in the ark, and I'm not going to cover the other chapters because I think I'm going to mention a few things maybe. But I think all of this is so relevant to these days. And yes, I just saw a comment here that Noach knew the Torah. I think so. Actually, I'm going to share the passage with you in a moment about that. That there are so much parallels of the last days with what happened. YaHuWaH poured out His wrath on the earth. And we know that the day of YaHuWaH, the day of His wrath, is coming soon. It's a day of wrath once again. So, it's interesting to see that Noach, beside these characteristics that basically made him found favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH, he needed to work his own salvation. It's not like YaHuWaH brought, like a magic act, if I can say so, just for you to understand. The ark. He brought it just like this, and the ark is there. No. Noach had to use his own hand. YaHuWaH was helping him for sure, but Noach has to use his own hands and to work in order to build the ark by which he was going to be saved. What it means to us, all of this, is that our own salvation is something that we need to work. It's not that YaHuWaH is going to save us because of the favor He saw on us. We need to work for that salvation. What would it mean in the future? I don't know. We will need to build an ark? I don't think so. But what the Ruach put in my heart is somehow related this to the second Exodus. I think tough decisions will come on the way. And part of that salvation will come as part of that second Exodus. Most probably it's going to be very difficult in the same way that was difficult for the wife of Lot. that she revealed what was in her heart. We will need to make a decision if we stay or if we walk the journey. And just with the only decision of walking the way is working our salvation toward the goal, believing without seeing. What I feel is somehow this is exactly a correlation to what meant to Noach to build the ark in order to work his salvation. It's something we need to do now in order to find favor in the eyes of YaHuWaH as we just study. But we need to do it every day. But in one moment, I think it's going to come the moment of decision that we need to live even stronger that faith, that emunah. And the parallels are so beautiful as well. And I'm going to share with you my view on this just shortly. There are so much studies and speculations about the rapture, okay? And I see here in this story of Noach a picture of this in the understanding that I have currently. This is not intended to be a study of the rapture. Again, that required a specific topic and a specific slot of time. But I think I have to mention it to you. At the moment the waters started to come over the world, over the earth, and the door was shut, that was the wrath of YaHuWaH over the earth. And it is interesting because if you take a look in the chapter 9 and do the calculations, and actually for those of you that already saw in the past my videos about the calendar, I did that calculation in order to have an additional witness of the calendar having the months of 30 days, meaning that it's impossible that the moon is the one ruling the calculation of the calendar. And it's just an exercise you can do, just checking the dates of each one of the events on the flood. But the point is that if you do the calculation, that wrath of YaHuWaH lasted a year. So it could be that maybe the coming wrath of YaHuWaH is also gonna last 1 year. So all the flood event, it was 1 year. It was the wrath of YaHuWaH. And it was before the wrath of YaHuWaH that Noach and his family and the animals were saved, were delivered. But can you imagine what happened before that event? Noach was building the ark. According to the book of Yasher, it took him 5 years to build the ark. You can find this, I think, in the chapter. Let me see if I can give you a reference. It was in the chapter 5, verse 34. It says, in his 595th year, Noach began to make the ark, and he made the ark in 5 years, as YaHuWaH had commanded. So he was building the ark in 5 years. It was a massive boat. You know, it's so big, 3 floors. It's a massive building. And he was building this. Can you imagine, with the violence on that time, with the people so focused on the social networks back then, and he was persecuted, most probably. People were ridiculing him. People were abusing him in many different ways. It's just a matter to see what happened today to understand what was the situations that Noah had to live and experience in his times. There was a kind of persecution. He was persecuted. Maybe he has to face some murder attempt People wanted to kill him. So we don't know. And all that violence happened for many years before the flood. And I'm going to read you a passage in a moment because it's really, really, really interesting. That is a message to us today about what's our calling, what I said earlier. That all that period of time was persecution, tribulation. So I see in the picture 2 period of time, a period of tribulation that is not coming directly by YaHuWaH, it's coming from the man, from the violence, and even more in a deeper meaning, it's coming from the evil spirits. It's coming from the spirits of the giants. Isn't it the same that is happening today? That tribulation that we're facing, and that great tribulation that is coming by the hand of Satan himself, it's a parallel to what Noach had to survive during that period of time before the flood. But immediately before the wrath of YaHuWaH was coming to the world, he was saved. And so that's why, I don't believe in the pre-tribulation rapture. I think it's going to be a rapture that is going to be previous to the wrath of YaHuWaH and after the tribulation, because we see this picture exactly in the life of Noach and in many other examples that we can study in other moments. But what's the 2 interesting thing as well about the rapture is that most of the people that believe in the rapture is that they believe that they are going to be cut up out of the world into space, the third heaven, and so on. But we see something totally different here. We see that Noach, he never left the world. He was lifted up. It says that the ark was going up together with the water, going up, even higher than the top of the highest mountains in the world. So he was lifted up. And this is exactly what Shaul Paul is speaking about in Thessalonians, that at the sound of the last trumpet, those that are sleeping in Mashiach are going to be resurrected. And all of us that are living on those days are going to be transformed with an uncorruptible body. And we are going to meet the Adon, the Master Yahushua, on the earth. It's exactly the same that happened with Noach. The ark, with all of them that were saved, were lifted up to a higher place. They didn't leave the world. And after destruction and the wrath went away, they descended once again into the earth. Why? Because I was just reading in the book of Tehillim, Psalms, the inheritance of the righteous is the earth, and the righteous will dwell in it. So, are we going to be raptured? Yes. Are we going to be raptured outside the world? No. We are going to meet the Mashiach in the earth. We are going to be lifted up. And I have a beautiful dream about that experience during the dream, exactly that. And you know what's the beautiful thing, and this is something that was mentioned yesterday when I was recording the study in Spanish as well, is that I do believe, and I don't remember by heart, but there are some passages in the scripture that it says that we will see the destruction over the world. We'll see the destruction over the evil ones. And we can think in our heart that why we are going to be seeing these kind of things. And I do believe is that it's a way that YaHuWaH is going to reinforce humility in our hearts and joy because of the salvation. But also we see a parallel in Noach, and this is part of the passage that I want to read with you from the book of Yashar. During that period of time of the wrath of YaHuWaH in the flood, Do you believe it was easy for Noach and the 7 in the ark plus the animal? No, the waters were mighty over the earth, is written in the word. Most probably the boat was moving in a mighty way. You know, they were hitting the storms. And most probably in 1 minute, they were even hitting the shouts and the scream of the people that they were dying. Those one they didn't believe. And that's why I do believe that we will see the destruction. In my dream, I saw exactly that, how the destruction were coming to the world. But YaHuWaH will protect their own ones. Let me see if I find this here, because it's important to mention. In the chapter 6 of the book of Yasher, in the verse 26 onward, says the following: And the rain was still falling upon the earth, and it fell 40 days and 40 nights. And the waters were mighty on the earth, and all flesh that was on the earth or in the waters died, whether men, animals, beasts, creeping creatures, or birds of the earth, and only Noach remained on those that were with him in the ark. The only thing that remained, and this is also, it been in my heart for weeks, are the creatures on the sea. They survived because of a reason, most probably. And maybe that's why, YaHuWaH didn't command to bring offerings from creatures from the sea. This is something I mentioned last week, I think. Just a parenthesis, but let's continue reading. And the waters were mighty, and they greatly increased upon the earth. And they lifted up the ark, and it was raised from the earth. It's exactly what I was describing a moment ago regarding the rapture. And the ark floated on the face of the waters, and it was tossed upon the waters, so that all the living creatures within were turned about like stew in a pot. Can you imagine? It wasn't easy for them. They knew that they were experiencing the wrath of YaHuWaH, but they were protected inside the ark. During the wrath of YaHuWaH, we will see things happening, but we are going to be protected. We will see the turbulence. We will experience that turbulence, but YaHuWaH will be with us. And a great anxiety seized all the living creatures that were in the ark, and the ark was thought to be broken. And all the living creatures that were in the ark were afraid, and the lions roared, and the oxen lowed, and the wolves howled, and every living creature in the ark spoke and lamented in its own tongue, so that their voices reached to the great distance. And Noach and his sons cried and wept in their troubles. They were greatly afraid that they had reached the gates of death. So we will see things happening. And the only thing that should cause to us is to love YaHuWaH even more, that he has granted salvation because of his Son, and because of our faithfulness. And one thing in addition, that I want to finish with this, is that it is written in the chapter, I think it's chapter 2 of the book of YaHuWaH, Peter. Let's see if it is here. Yep. Chapter 2 of the book of Peter. 2 Peter. It says in the verse 4 and 5 the following: For if Elohim did not spare the messengers who sinned, but sent them to Tartarus, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be kept for judgment, and did not spare the world of old, but preserved Noach, who was Noach, a proclaimer of righteousness, and 7 others, bringing in the flood of the world of the wicked. Noach was a proclaimer of righteousness. He was bringing the good news to the people. He was talking to them about the day of wrath of YaHuWaH, but at the same time, he was bringing hope for salvation if they were willing to accept the truth, the way, and the life of YaHuWaH. And there's so a beautiful picture in the book of Yasher that I want to read with you to you, because it's expanding this understanding about what it meant to Noach to be a proclaimer of righteousness. And let me see what it is. And this is in the chapter 5. Chapter 5 of the book of Yasher. You know, this book, this chapter is starting, you know, that all the men who walked in the ways of YaHuWaH died in those days, before YaHuWaH brought the evil upon man, which he had declared. And all in the verse 5 of the chapter 5, it says the following: and all who followed YaHuWaH died in those days, before they saw the evil which Elohim declared to do on the earth. And it says, and after the passing of many years, in the 480th year of the life of Noach, when all those men who followed YaHuWaH had died away from among the sons of men, and only Methuselah was then left, Elohim spoke to Noach and Methuselah, saying, he spoke to two servants as a kind of a picture of the two witnesses, but also as a kind of a picture for you and us of what we need to do and what it means to be a proclaimer of righteousness. So this is what YaHuWaH spoke to Noach and Methuselah those days: speak and proclaim to the sons of men, saying, thus said YaHuWaH, return from your evil ways, do teshuvah, return to my way, not follow your ways, follow my way. Return from your evil ways and forsake your works, and YaHuWaH will repent of the evil that he declared to do to you, so that it shall not come to pass. For that said YaHuWaH, see, I give you a period of 120 years. If you will turn to me and forsake your evil ways, then I will also turn away from the evil which I told you, and it shall not exist, said YaHuWaH. And Noach and Methuselah spoke all the words of YaHuWaH to the sons of men, day after day, constantly speaking to them. But the sons of men would not listen to them, nor incline their ears to their words, and they were stiff-necked. And YaHuWaH granted them a period of 120 years, saying, if they will return, then Elohim will repent of the evil, so as not to destroy the earth. And even it continues saying, later on, in that time, YaHuWaH, in the verse 22, said to Noach and Methuselah, stand up and proclaim to the sons of men all the words that I spoke to you in those days. Maybe they will turn from the evil ways. So he is warning, he's bringing those proclaimer of righteousness once, twice, sometimes 3 times, in order to bring the good news of the kingdom, that we need to do teshuvah and return to the ways of YaHuWaH. It says, and Noach and Methuselah stood and spoke in the hearing of the sons of men all that Elohim had spoken concerning them. Once again, but the sons of men would not listen, neither would they incline their ears to all their words. And after that, he was bringing the flood. So, beside building the ark, Noach was a proclaimer of righteousness. He was following. He knew what righteousness was and is. And he was trying to help others to find that way. This is exactly our calling. This is exactly our calling. We need to work for our own salvation. But part of that work is that we need to be a proclaimer of righteousness in order to bring others to the ark, if that's the plan of YaHuWaH. There are multiple things that we can talk here in this passage. You know, It's the story of Nimrod. We can speak a lot about that. And actually, what we see happening today in the last chapter, in chapter 11 of this portion, in the world today is exactly the opposite. It's going backward. YaHuWaH divided the world, because they were just one. They were having just one governor, one king, Nimrod over them. They were having one purpose, was one common house, was one global community. And it's exactly the same. What YaHuWaH did was to divide all of that, giving them different languages. Now what the world has been doing in so many years is to go once again against YaHuWaH, trying to reunite all of that. Even, in the building of the European Parliament, this is a picture. It was built according to a picture of the Tower of Babylon. So everything that humankind is doing is going in order to provoke YaHuWaH. YaHuWaH decided to divide that, and man is trying to unite it again in one global system. The only thing that we are waiting, because we have one global economy, the only thing that is missing is just to have one king, one president over all. So, but YaHuWaH once again will bring the destruction, because he is the only one. He is the only one who can unite everything. And he will unite everything in him, in Yahushua. All of them, all of us that wants to be Echad and one in him. And the other thing, because it is important to mention as well, is the genealogy. In order to understand why was the instruction of YaHuWaH to destroy all the 7 nations, because all the 7 nations of the land were descendants of Canaan. All of them were under a curse. And actually, if you read in more details the book of Jubilees, you will understand that Canaan was taking over a piece of land that was called the land of Canaan that didn't belong to him. In the book of Jubilees, it's interesting because it serves as a reference. That Lot came to Shem, but Canaan decided to took it for him. So the 7 nations are coming from a curse. That's why we can understand why YaHuWaH decided to remove all that people, all that 7 nations. And there's so much to speak about. Rob was speaking so much during his studies and presentations about how giants came from that curse. And just to answer one of the questions that I saw in the chat earlier, saying that Noach knew about the Torah. Let me see if I find the chapter in the book of Joelim. It says in the chapter 7 of the book of Joelim, Jubilees, Noach speaking to his sons, he's talking about the commandments and the blood and so on. He says the following: For so Hanoch, the father of your father, commanded Methuselah, his son, and Methuselah, his son Lemech. And Lemech commanded me all the matters which his fathers commanded him. And I also shall give you command, my sons, as Hanoch commanded his son in the first Joelim. So they knew the Torah. And in Spanish, in the video that I'm gonna post later today, I was mentioning this as well. When you sign a contract with two persons, you put the conditions in the contract. And there's some certain conditions that you don't write down. Because if there's a relationship of trust between the two persons that are signing that contract, that agreement, you just put the basic conditions, the most important, and the rest are the conditions that you trust in the person, and it's just you trust in the word of the person. But what happened if the trust is being broken? And the renewal of the contract is coming, and you are going to renew it. Those conditions that were broken You are not going to trust that person anymore in those areas. What you are going to do, you're going to write down these additional conditions that the person already knew. It wasn't something new for him. The only decision in the past was not to write it down in the contract. This time they're going to write down these additional conditions. And maybe others are going to remain as the trust by word. In the coming renewal, if that person wasn't faithful again, they will write down those known conditions that were broken, write it down in written form in the renewal of the contract. This is exactly what happened with Torah. It is written in one of the prophets that Adam transgressed the covenant. The first covenant was with Adam. He knew Torah. Can you imagine? I do believe that YaHuWaH himself, he himself was teaching his ways to Adam. And Adam was teaching that ways to his generations. There was a pure seed of righteous people that died before the flood, as it is written in the book of Yasher, that were following the ways of YaHuWaH. And in each renewal of the contract, because of the unfaithfulness of people, YaHuWaH was writing even more the same conditions that everybody knew. That's why, if you study the covenants, and this is really interesting, that the covenant of the rainbow, that even the world has taken the rainbow in order to provoke the YaHuWaH with an abominable things. It was in the third month. Noach came down, and you can read this in the chapter 8, I think, of Bereshit. Let's go there, because those are important nuggets that are important to keep in mind as well. 8 should be, yes, 8:17. Here, 8:14. And in the second month, on the 27th of the month, the earth was dry. And Elohim spoke to Noach, saying, "Go out of the ark." Noach came out almost at the beginning of the third month. And after that was the covenant. And if you see in the book of Yovelim, that covenant of Noach happened during the day of Shavuot. So we see the covenant of Noach. We see the covenant in Sinai. We see the Ruach HaKodesh, part of the new covenant, in the same day. They knew Torah. Most probably the covenant that was made with Adam. Not so sure about this, but it's what I'm feeling. Maybe it was on the same day. What it means that maybe the sealed up of the new covenant in the wilderness during the second Exodus, it will happen in Shavuot as well. So they all knew His Torah, His commandment are forever. There's no new, because YaHuWaH doesn't change His mind. His Torah is forever. So the only thing that has been changing, that's the contract, has been written more of the conditions that I already knew. So that's beautiful, because it's so faithful, YaHuWaH. There's nothing new. It's something that has been there all the time. And that's why the same thing that He was expecting from Noach to walk in, is the same thing that He's expecting from you and me in these days, new days of Noach, to walk in order to get into the ark and be saved. So I think we're going to keep it until here. I really hope with all my heart that this being a blessing to you all. Is the time that we imitate the servants of YaHuWaH from old. Is the time that we imitate the life of Yahushua HaMashiach, and we follow his steps in order to have the same conditions for the salvation that is coming to be manifest soon into the world by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. It depends on us now, and Yahushua is there in order to help us. If we sin, as it is written in the book of John, version, if we sin, we had an advocate in order to confess our sins and to be cleansed by his blood. He knows that we are not perfect yet. Perfection, full perfection, is coming as soon as we are being transformed, and we will have a new body, an uncorruptible body, in the same way YaHuWaH is after his resurrection. In the meantime, we need to do all our effort with all the intention of our heart in order to love YaHuWaH, in order to follow his ways, in order to be the special people, to be the citizens of his kingdom. Though we are living in this world, we are not going to be removed of this world. This is the prayer from YaHuWaH. I'm not asking you, Abba, to remove them from the world, but to guard them from the evil one. So we need to expect in YaHuWaH HaMashiach that he's bringing the kingdom here. And we need to expect from YaHuWaH to save us from that day of wrath. And that's our hope. And we need to work as much as we can toward that goal, toward that salvation, in order to be part of the ark. And I think if we continue in the way that we are doing, remember, denying ourselves, we will be part of that ark, that new ark that is coming by the true one, the righteous one, that's YaHuWaH HaMashiach. So, brothers, sisters, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a blessed Shabbat, continuing in a blessed Shabbat. I really hope in YaHuWaH that you are going to have a blessed week. Keep your emunah very strong in your heart. Seek YaHuWaH continually. He will guide you and guard you all the time. And we'll see each other next week, and we will continue with this study on the next portion. And let's see what the Ruach is bringing to us in this week, what YaHuWaH is bringing to us in our experience in this week, and also in the next study next week. So once again, thank you so much. We will finish, as we have been doing, with a song. And I hope this is going to bless you. See you next week. Shabbat Shalom. YaHuWaH be with you all. Bye.
This is a song I wrote with my good friend, Aaron Schust. Welcome to Jerusalem, brother. The one who calms a raging storm, the one who walks upon the sea, earth and heaven are your own, yet you're watching over me. How majestic is your name, 'cause there is none like you. There is none like you. Together we proclaim the power of your name. There is none like you. Who can stand before your throne? Your kingdom will forever reign. We will sing a song of praise to the ancient of days. 'Cause there is none like you. There is none like you. Together we proclaim the power of your name. 'Cause there is none like you. Oh, there is none like you. There is none like you. Together we proclaim the power of your name. 'Cause there is none like you. How majestic is your name. How majestic is your name. How majestic is your name in all the earth. Sing it with us together. How majestic. How